Something recently happened that may have just confirmed where society is headed and where our future may lead. And I think it's a future that most of us were kind of worried about. I know I sure was. And if you haven't heard the news, apparently Disney just laid off over 1,000 employees. And not just employees, but these were creators, people like designers and artists, and the ones that brought us the amazing characters from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU. And the claim here, or actually put it this way, what the CEO said the reasoning was for him laying off all these people, it was because he wants to create a more technologically enabled workforce. So the claim from the people reading into the story, is that they're probably just firing these people so that they can create an AI agent that can learn based off of their art and create the art for basically free. That's a big claim. And I looked into this claim to see if it was true. And it actually kind of makes sense if you really think about it, because if you think about what the CEOs for these companies do, these large corporations like Disney and Disney itself, they try to please their shareholders because Disney is a publicly traded company and they're worth a lot of money. I'm sure y'all know that. But it really comes down to trying to generate the most amount of money as possible. That's what these large corporations are all about, because the shareholders kind of run the show. They have to create that money and that revenue. And that's really what the name of the game is when you have a company and a corporation that's that large. And you consider that the CEO made $45.8 million last year, and Disney is continually raising the price of everything that they own. A single ticket to Disneyland is now, I want to say, right around $225. And, something like Disney Plus, they've raised the price on that, I want to say 5 times within the last 5 years. It went from $6.99 when Disney Plus first came out, and now it's $11.99 for the lowest tier. And you still have to watch ads. If you want to get something that you don't have to watch ads, it's much more than that. So the price is almost doubled. And the price of everything Disney related goes up. So they're trying to capitalize on their product and make the most money that they possibly can. So it does kind of make sense that they would want to cut their workforce, bring in AI to replace these 1,000 jobs, because when you do that, you pay for the AI once, and then the AI just comes in and does the work. You don't have to pay for all these employees. You probably need a very small team to run that operation. And that is one of the things that they said they want, is a very small team. So the irony here is that one of the creators, one of the artists that was responsible for Loki and Fantastic Four and the Black Panther, he was fired in the same conference room that had his art painted on the wall behind him. This guy's been with Disney for a long time. So it's not like they're firing people that were brand new. And this particular artist has actually won 3 Director Guild Awards. So he's kind of a big deal. But they still fired him. And coming back to the idea that AI is going to replace all these people, I wasn't able to verify that. So I can't say whether or not that's true. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Again, it does kind of make sense if that's what they're doing. And I'm not saying that's right, but I also think that it's not about Disney. And it's not about whether or not Disney's doing this, because this is happening. We see this throughout almost every industry out there when it comes to marketing and a lot of creative jobs, and really anything that requires human input, something that comes from the mind to technology. It is largely being replaced by AI. There are a lot of companies that are realizing that they can pay AI once to do the job of many employees, and it's much cheaper, and the AI works much faster, and it doesn't talk back, and it doesn't need days off, and its car doesn't break down on the way to work, and it doesn't gripe and complain. And there are just a lot fewer things that you have to worry about when you bring in something like that, something that is technologically based. So knowing and understanding that that is in fact where society is headed, and that's where our future is leading, what does that mean for us? And I'm not even talking about what does that mean for us in terms of our jobs, because I think a lot of us see the writing on the wall for that already. I'm talking about what does that mean for us as people? Are we eventually going to reach the point in society where everything that we cherish and everything that's real is turned to AI slop? Does that mean that all the movies we were raised up on that brought so much joy into our lives that our kids and our grandkids won't get to experience? And I think to answer this question, it really comes down to answering the age-old question that so many people are trying to answer, and that is, what is art? And is AI actually able to create real art? To me, art is anything that moves you. Because to me, art is a vessel for raw, unfiltered human emotion. When an artist creates something, everything that that person is, their emotion, their identity, what they were feeling, what they were going through, who they are deep down on a fundamental level, is transferred into the thing that they're creating. And in turn, that is transferred to the people that view and listen to it. Because when you take something like a painting, for example, you have all these paintings out there that are nothing more than a bunch of blobs on a canvas. And to some people, it just looks like blobs on a canvas. But to other people, that artwork is invaluable. It is worth millions and millions of dollars. And some of it you can't even put a price tag on. But that is because it's not about the art. It's not about the paint on the canvas. It's about what that art makes the people feel. It's about the emotion and what went into it, who the person was that was creating it. That is artwork. That's why when you hear a song that moves you and it resonates with you deeper than just the mind, it resonates with your soul and your spirit, and it makes you feel a certain way, it's not about the lyrics. It's about the emotion behind it. That is artwork, and that could be anything. It could even be your favorite food. Think about Grandma's world-famous apple pie. Why is it world-famous? Why do so many people around the world connect with this apple pie? Is it just because it tastes so much different than all the other apple pies in the world? Or is it something deeper than that? I would say it's something deeper than that, because I think about some of my favorite recipes from my mom, and those are the ones that were handed down to her from her mom. So every time she makes that dish, whether it be the apple pie, the lasagna, the carrot cake, you name it, it's not just a piece of who she is that is in that food. There's also a piece of who her mom was. It's a piece of their legacy and the family that is in that food every time it's created. So that food is no longer food, it's a celebration of life, because that food is now based on something more than just ingredients. It's based on love and connection. When people make food like that, it becomes art, because it is something that cannot be replicated by a machine that's mass producing pies and putting them in a box. And thinking back at my childhood, this is the same way I felt about Disney movies, because Disney movies always sparked something deep within me, and it was an emotion. It made me feel a certain way, and in a lot of cases it made me feel special. It made me feel like anything was possible. When I sat down and watched something like The Rescuers Down Under, it made me feel like I could be the unlikely hero. Like I could be that nobody that steps up in the time of need and saves the day. And it was never really about the movie itself. It was always about the adventure. It was about the experience. And most importantly, it was about the emotion. And those movies back then, the ones we watched when we were growing up, they were created by a real human. There was somebody that was actually drawing this stuff out on paper. And I think that's why we connected with those movies so much back then. Way more than we do now with this CGI stuff. Because those movies were emulating a raw and unfiltered part of all the artists behind them. And that is something that we could connect with. So the debate about whether AI art should still be considered art should not be about the thing that's creating it. It should be about whether or not that raw, unfiltered emotion can still be transferred into it. Is a non-human, artificial being capable of creating something that moves you? And if so, is that alone enough to justify getting rid of all the artists out there? Is it enough to justify getting rid of the real human-created art and replacing that with something that was created by artificial intelligence? Is money and profiteering more important than people and their families and the legacy they leave behind in the form of art? Is it more important than the impact that it has on us? Is it more important than the feeling that we get from it? Is it more important than the raw, unfiltered emotion?